Welcome back to It's All Bad. My name's Keith. I'm here with
Michael.
What up, Russian Danny?
Oh.
Hey, and this is Mike.
Charlie.
Michael Angelos.
And
Michael Angelos.
I keep getting excited.
You're okay.
no, we have this remarkably unnatural opening, and I'm going to it's not. Yes, welcome.
This
back
happens
to
every
It's
week.
Yes, it does. Welcome
Every
back to
week.
It's All.
Usually Mike fucks it up, but you did.
I
this
didn't
time.
fuck it up.
So
That was a weak clap. Hold on.
it's Danny in the orange shirt, Michael.
Danny, Russian Danny.
What's up?
Russian Danny. That's Mike Fiella, who I feel like you would have met somewhere along the line
Mike, he looks familiar. The energy feels familiar.
with the beard. And then that's Charlie, the young, handsome one.
I had a feeling, Charlie had a handsome voice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know, like if I was, if I got Charlie on the phone, I'd be like, I bet you Charlie's kind of hot. I thought he's probably attractive.
Listen, how do you want this interview to go? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Charlie doesn't ask the questions. I have a beautiful voice.
Well, I'm just
I have
wondering
a
if Charlie's
handsome-
overdressed. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think, just so Michael Angelos produces commercials,
yes.
and Charlie and Mike
word.
Fiella also work at a commercial house.
Okay.
And then
Do
Danny
you remember
lived.
commercial?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember when we were making them?
I do.
Yeah. And
Vaguely.
then that coronavirus.
Danny, I don't know what happened to your picture, but it's controlled by gamma light.
Cut, controlled by gamma light. I can
Yeah.
see you guys.
Okay, we're good then.
Dropped
I can't
off
hear
a nice
Mike.
mic from Mike.
This should just be like
I can-
1 hour of like, can you hear me? Wait, hold on. Your video is weird.
We'll just go for just another hour of just like, can you see me? Can you see me?
Well, thanks
much-
for,
Thanks for coming on.
yeah, we're excited. Yeah, but you're one of the funniest people I know, so I'm excited about this.
Oh my goodness.
And you've done your share of drugs, which I appreciate.
I have
too.
done my share of drugs, which
Oh,
yeah, I
it's not that
was
kind of
actually a
show.
little concerned about whether, I sort of could where I sit in the, lexicon of things, like
Oh, only Danny and I are sober. These other two aren't sober.
oh, okay, good.
Yeah, and most of the guests have been sober, but not all of them.
Right. Right.
But
Are you sober, Michael?
Well, no. But
Okay, got it.
I mean, I don't drink. Do you know what I mean? So I
don't, but I hear you.
I don't drink.
I know what those words mean when you put them together in a sentence. But yeah, I have no idea what
A
the fuck
couple
you're
of
talking
times
about.
a month I try and eat marijuana and I'm miserable.
Oh, that's the worst. Yeah, I can't fuck with it.
And I don't know
Cannot.
why I have that. But like every now and then I just go to sleep, so that's great. But that, and then I do the psychedelics. I'm on, I do the microdosing and the macrodosing, and I'm sort of part of that
oh, great.
sort of thing.
Ooh.
So
I can't argue because I got to tell you, Michael Angelos, the one drug that's never given me a bad shake is LSD. Never.
no,
Never had it.
I'm actually
Great.
I'm literally on a little bit of acid right now. I mean,
Oh, really?
a sub-perceptual amount of LSD right now. Yeah,
Are you microdosing?
I am. Yeah.
Oh,
When you
tight.
say it's how small of amount would that be? Like a tenth of a hit? I don't
It's
get it.
okay. So I have. I feel like I wonder if I should be speaking in code or whatever. But like I have an eyedropper that.
Yeah.
This is hypothetical to law enforcement. I would have an eyedropper, and this eyedropper, each drop would be 15 micrograms.
Okay.
I put the dropper in a cup, and I drink half of the drop. I have half of that cup. 'Cause
Okay.
it's weird. It's like when you do too much of too little. I don't know how else to put this. It sucks.
Yeah.
Like you either want to go all the way or you want to just not even really feel it, but just sort of let it accumulate. I take it every other day or every third day. I do that, or I do like a point of a gram of mushrooms. Do you know?
Oh, like
And-
0.1 of a gram?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you're never really loaded then, right?
No.
Ever. Okay.
Worst
Have
case,
you
if you
ever-
do a little too much, like you just feel kind of like
irritable.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Exactly.
I've experimented just a little bit with the microdosing. It didn't work for me because I'm just like, why aren't I tripping balls? And I feel like I'm
No,
getting
that's
ripped.
not really.
But that's not the point.
No.
That's not what you're going for when you're microdosing. I know people who've done it very successfully. Buddy of ours who's a sound mixer and spends a shit ton of time just watching images and syncing them up and tweaking music and tweaking sound effects and everything else. And I from what he said, it was really helpful to him.
Yeah, it gives you the focus. It gives you. I mean, it's so. All the things I do sort of inhabit this world where it's like I think it's doing something. Like I do all these like fucking other mushrooms, like the cordyceps and the chaga and all this stuff, and I'm like, I think it's doing something. But
yeah.
It's interesting. A little bit like CBD. You're like,
which that's where I get tongue tied with the THC because the only way that CBD works is if you take a little THC with it, but if I do too much THC, I'm all of a sudden the fat 13-year-old that I've been working out with my whole life. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just like never gonna see a real live woman naked, and everyone thinks I'm weird and I'm awful, and like it's just
Yeah.
See, you're like me with marijuana. It does not sit right with me, man, at all.
Doesn't it?
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's the most garbage, shitty, homegrown weed or the best weed there is. It all is terrible for me.
I'm going to say something, and this might, this might be too general. I think if you have a certain, if you're just kind of thinky, if you're sort of a little smart about, I don't want to say smart. I don't want to say people that are stoners are not smart, but I think if you just kind of inhabit your brain a lot, you don't like let go,
Yeah.
If you're not if you're not kind of easy going as is, the pot, kind of doesn't agree. I'm like not easy going. Like, so you would think the pot would make me easier. It just makes me, harder going.
Anxious. Yeah. It creates the worst anxiety I've ever experienced in my life.
It's terrible.
I'm the same as you. I just sit there like I would smoke it and I just literally one hit. It doesn't take much.
No.
And I literally just go, I can't believe what a fucking loser I am.
I'm
what am I doing with my life?
I'm just the weirdest thing. Like I can't believe this person's actually, I can't believe. And then I start thinking about conversations I had that day where I was just being me and existing, and then thinking about people taking me seriously as this human being. And it's awful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny because for me, it's like the 100%, it's a 180.
You love it.
Yeah, but you're pretty laid back though.
He's a laid back guy.
Yeah.
Do you suffer now, Mike? Do you suffer from anxiety in general in life? Has that been a theme for you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, anxiety. Yeah, a couple of little.
No, you would know. You see, that's the thing about anxiety. Anxiety is one of those like yes. Do you know what I mean? Like if you ask me,
I mean, yes, but it's not that simple.
Right.
I also have obsessive-compulsive disorder, so that's tied in with anxiety, and I take drugs that would treat normally depression and not really anxiety.
Right.
I don't take anxiety drugs. I take a drug, Prozac, that treats depression traditionally.
Oh yeah,
but
Prozac.
That, has for 30 years treated OCD.
Yeah.
And I was a pretty early adopter of that in the late 80s because I've had it since I was a teenager.
Wow. So you've been on Prozac for 30 years?
I've been on and off. I mean, there are large chunks of time where, one of the cute things about OCD is that it makes you very resistant to wanting to take that medication.
Well, yeah. I have a little bit of that OCD thing. How does it matter? I mean, are you a counter? Are you a cleaner? Are you a walk over the lines? I mean, where does it?
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, really?
Ding, ding, ding. No, I'm not as good as it.
How fucked are the counters with the hand washing thing you got to do now with the 20-second thing you got to do?
Yeah.
Dude, what do you mean? Are you kidding me? I'm like a fucking Olympic athlete at this shit.
Right.
I've been watching my hands like I was going into fucking cardiovascular surgery since I was 17 years old.
Oh, man. See,
Holding hot water. I've had people walk into the bathroom at an agency I worked at once years ago. A guy walked into the bathroom and I was in the middle of a really whooped up anxiety, OCD, just frenzy. And he looked over at me at the sink, and it was all fogged up, and the water was steaming hot. And my hands, when I looked down and I realized my hands were like bright red. They looked like 2 honey baked hams. Like just so raw and chapped and destroyed. And he just walked in and kind of looked at them and just like looked at me and was like, "Are you cool?"
That's
Kinda,
amazing.
that look. And I was just like, "What's up, bro? Like, what do you want to talk about it? You don't want to talk about it. Go take a fucking piss, you know?" And he took his, like, "Yeah, I got it. I'm a mental patient. Go take a piss."
Yeah.
So, yeah, not fun, but anyways.
Mike
hasn't left the house, Michael Angelos.
I mean, so this is I'm actually, as a case study, I find you interesting because you like marijuana, agrees with you, and I would say that I'm in your spectrum. I'm not nearly, I don't wash my,
Right. It's a strange thing, but I think that I don't know what it is, but it does relax me. Usually, you have a drink, you have a little smoke. Those kind of go hand in hand with
the
me.
booze. Yeah, the booze softens definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it'll energize me too. Like it gets me social and like it always was like it's always been like that. I was always like, let's smoke a joint and then get out there and just start fucking talking to people.
Right.
Like
wow.
just maybe.
No.
Booze never worked for you, right, Michael Angelos?
No, I mean,
in the early years.
When my history with drugs and alcohol, I have a very weird history with drugs and alcohol because the program has been kind of around me. I was sort of a kid that got sober. Do you know?
Yeah.
And then would spend, 15 years sort of like, I'm not an addict, I'm an addict, I'm a this, I'm a that, and figuring out, longer than, like in and out. I really only had a few runs with booze, like maybe like a year where I drank with some, with excessively. But it's so removed from me that I don't know anything. Like I don't know anything about like wine, or I don't know anything. I don't really even know much about booze. You know what I mean? Like I'm not.
Yeah.
If I'm in a situation, not that I find myself in them, but like I don't know like what a good wine is or what a good this or it's never. I liked heroin. I liked everything about heroin. I liked heroin before I did heroin. Yeah. I was like that. I'm a fat 13-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I just read No One Here Gets Out Alive, and I just heard the Velvet Underground, and it looks to me like they figured some stuff out. So heroin was like a goal. I wish, to me, it's like I would like to say that I was in some pained life of tragedy and found drugs and they were this great, but it was like I was like, where do I get I wanted the whole thing, like
yeah,
and I vividly just remember when I would the how utterly disgusting it, like you want it to be like Nico and like cool lighting and stuff, and you're like puking and shitting and like like in the bath, it's like immersed in your own feces, like the most disgusting situations. Like there was maybe like 1 or 2 fun, sexy heroin experiences, and then the rest was just like it just felt like a lot of bodily functions, like just and like I was the guy. I don't know. I was the guy.
A lot of fluids.
Well, a lot of fluids. And here's the thing. When I was strung out, I was strung out on tar heroin, and I don't know if anyway. I can't smell tar heroin. It makes me. It's like disgusting. Do you know? Like So I would like have to cook my dope. I mean, it was like I had these images of like I'm like Lou Reed, and I'm like got the sunglasses and the leather pants, and I'm like doing dope, and I'm like literally like shitting, like cooking the dope like over here, I can't smell it, and it was awful. But yeah, that was. But I liked how it made me feel, and I liked pills, and in the end, and even throughout all of this, I don't think about drugs a lot. I've done a lot of work and just kind of, honestly, there's other issues that have been a little bit more pervasive for me on an addictive level. I'd say to some degree, drugs covered up a food problem, because it was sexier to be a drug addict. Like you can be at the AA meeting and be like, yeah, I took the needle out of the trash can and then I stuck it in my arm and some fucking hot chick's going to fuck you afterwards. You know what I mean? But like, if you're like, I took the chocolate cake out of the fucking trash and I fucking ate it anyway, everyone's just gonna be like, you're a fucking pig, man. It's like how many fucking supermodels have dropped their fucking boyfriends off at drug fucking places, right? But but how many have taken them to fat camp? So
right. Wow. That's
Wow.
amazing. But Michael, can you tell everybody about yourself? I know you grew up in LA. And
oh, okay, yeah, like it's so back to me.
Yeah.
So I was sort of segueing a little bit because I've had to, I've started taking these classes online because, to our conversation earlier, I am hoping to become a therapist down the road. I'm sort of preparing for 60.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in these classes, these online classes, you have to do a little about you every time. And so I've gotten kind of good at paraphrasing myself in these situations, but now I've forgotten everything that I've been writing in these things. No, but, so basically, yeah, I'm from where are you from, Keith? You're a California guy, right?
I'm from Covina.
Yeah, that's
suburb.
right. Yeah. That's hardcore. That's like real.
Brutal.
Real. Yeah. Like I literally grew up in West Hollywood. I grew up in West Hollywood. Like I literally grew up my dad was in Malibu and my mom was in West Hollywood, Los Angeles and Melrose.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Fairfax, was my high school.
Yeah.
And
Same. I mean, one of the many, but yes.
Well, yeah, I bounced around too.
Yeah, the first one.
As we do, we bounce around, right?
We bounce.
Or check different schools out. So let's get popped for drugs and find out what the other school's like. My actually kicked out of junior high. I got kicked out of junior high school in 8th grade. My mom sent me to Malibu when I was 12 to live with my dad. Because she was smart. She didn't want to have a fucking, teenager running around. And she thought that the kids would be better in Malibu than the kids in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than a bunch of rich kids. Right.
Yeah.
So, So like I literally got in way more trouble in Malibu than I probably would have in Hollywood where,
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Like all my Hollywood friends were all like, and they were doing bands, they were doing things, they were like actually active in the world. The Malibu kids were literally like driving off of Cain and Doom. Do you know what I mean? It was like, that was like the thing to do was to do, what happened to Danny? He drove off of Cain and Doom,
that lesson zero shit, man.
No, totally. And that was those kids were a little older than me, but that was the era that I was coming up in. So
do you know that's the first film set I ever saw was Lesson Zero up on Moreno in Silver Lake, because I got sent to a boys' home in Silver Lake in '87.
Oh wow!
And we would walk to Marshall High School, right? Over from like by the Beastie Boys house up there. So the boys' home was on Red Cliff. We'd walk up, up to Mitchell Terrena, over Moreno, and down, by Mayfair Market or whatever. But we were coming by, it was like probably 8 a.m. and there was all this lights and shit. And we're like, what are you guys filming? They're like, movie called Lesson Zero. I'll never forget that. 87.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm ready for homework.
Did you, Michael, did you go to school with Yuri and Justin Warfield?
I did not. No, they went to fancy school.
Oh, okay.
They went to like Oakwood or something. They went to like
Crossroads or some shit.
Yeah, they went to one of those schools. They were one of those kids. There were two of those kids.
The most fucked up kids I hear of are the ones from Malibu.
Yeah, I mean all my Malibu. So I moved to Malibu and I got kicked out of 8th grade. Actually, it's sort of a sweet story because I had this God. So there was this guy, Mitch, who was my acid dealer. I was like 13. I was doing that. And Mitch, is a very long story, but Mitch sold me these white crosses, which were basically trucker speed that you get at the fucking gas station. But I thought that they were some cool thing because I was fucking 13, you know?
Yeah.
And there was this girl, Carrie, who I was fucking so in love with. Like she's still like the archetype. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
like just a very important woman in my life that I never touched, you know, and and I got her, and I
have no idea what you're talking about.
and I
never had that kind of relationship.
Yeah, I mean,
with a
it's
woman.
deep. It's deep. I mean, we still talk in my mind, you know, and and so I wanted to impress her, so I gave her these pills. I was like, hey, do you want some speed? I'm cool. I'm, you know, this fat little 13-year-old that wants to impress you. So and she took them. She got caught. And then she told the teacher that she got them from me. So I then go this was the funny thing was I thought I'd lost them. I physically couldn't find the other ones that I had. So the you know, the security lady, right, came and she's like, you come with me. And she's like, I know you've got something on you. And I felt really like I'd figured something out. I was like, look, search me. I'm cool. I got nothing. She pulled my wallet out and she looked underneath the Velcro thing and they were right. Like I'd spaced out that I'd put them there. And she's like, what the fuck is this? You know? And so then I go to the principal's office and this is 19, you know, fucking, this is literally like, I feel like I'm being hyperbolic, but this is like 1982, you know, 1980. And it was they had to do a big show. And they had to kick me out of the school district. So they kicked me out of the school district because this fucking girl, Carrie, pinned me on the thing. So I got kicked out of the school district. I ended up going to, I don't know if you remember these kinds of schools, Keith, but I went to this school called Colin McEwen, and they were like continuation. What's that? They were continuation schools, but they were private ones. So I call them schools you could smoke cigarettes at. Do you know?
Yeah. Oh, those are the best.
Those are the best. You could smoke cigarettes. They were done at noon. Do you know what I mean? And so I went there in Malibu for a little bit. And then I hit 16. It's really hard to condense all of this. But my father, I'm 16 years old. My dad had he was renting this beautiful house in Point Dume above Pay Zuma. Do you know where you drive down Zuma to go to the Rocks? Planet of the Apes beach, right?
Yeah.
He was renting this incredible house up there. My dad's a really long story. Anyways, he gets evicted. When I'm 16 years old, cops show up, kick us out of Malibu, basically. And I end up back in Hollywood with my mom, end up at Fairfax High. And from there, I was just a fucking Hollywood dude. And yeah, so I did fucking Hollywood and then that was kind of when I kind of got sober my first time. That I was 16 and I was,
oh wow.
I would say that you could, if on paper it looked, I mean, it's weird because I don't want to be dismissive about my drug use when I was young, but I had friends that were a lot worse than I were that had gotten sober, and they were going to meetings and they were like, dude, the guys from Motley Crue are here, and dude, the guy from this here, you know what I mean? And you'd go to a meeting and you'd be like, all of a sudden you're like hanging out with the guy from the Knack, you know, which meant something in 1985, you know what I mean? So
dude, the Knack,
yeah, Doug Feiger, he was like a fucking big deal in AA in 1985.
I bought that album at Strawberries Records and Tape for $6.35 called "Get the Knack."
Get the Knack, yeah. It's a very important guy in like 80s and 80s AA was like it was like a scene. So I kind of got sober there, and then you know, kind of
so you got sober in like 86 the first time?
I did for about a year. I did for about a year.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's wild.
Then I became friendly with the guys in Jane's Addiction.
Oh, right.
And those guys were all sober.
Yeah, they were totally, exactly. Especially in like 1988.
I was in LA in 1990. That seemed like a sober vibe.
They're really sober dudes, you know. And I was definitely like, I'll have some of that, please. Whatever the fuck they're doing, I want that. Yeah. I want that. This is what I was hoping to do when I was younger, but this is my thing. And so then I would spend the next 10, 11 years kind of being the on again, off again sort of flunky junkie that I was. And I was a terrible junkie. Like I really was, because I had no heart. Do you know? Like I had, you need, you know, when people are like, you know, that guy, it's amazing to me. He was this terrible junkie, and then he became this really successful person. And I'm like, yeah, but he could get heroin. Like he could get $500 of heroin worth a day. Like obviously the guy had some chops in life to you know, I could I'd be like, how am I going to get $20 together? Do you know? Like it was just overwhelming to me. Like, you know, I just didn't have the chops for it. And frankly, and the other thing was I was also, this is where I would sort of run into problems in AA, and I don't, again, you know, I think alcoholism is a bit of a spectrum, and I definitely have, you know, the thing, but when I would be like, when a sponsor would say, you know, listen, you have to do this, you were willing to go to any length to get high. You know, you have to be willing to go to any length to do this step or whatever. And I'd be like, I really kind of wasn't, because like I'd be dope sick and and like, you know, the dealer would live in Glendale. Do you know what I mean? And it'd be like 5. Do you know what I mean? And I'd be like, I don't know. Why don't we just wait? Can we wait until like 9, just until traffic dies down a little bit? You know, I wouldn't take the traffic hit, you know, and I was always terrified of, I was really just a terrible job. I was terrified of everything about it. Like I never knew the right thing to do when I go downtown to cop. I'm like, do you stay in your car? Do you get out of your car? You know, do you park the car? You know, the car felt like a bust, but getting out, then why are you this white long-haired guy just standing around? Do you know? I was terrified. Now, Keith, I know you did some proper jail time, right?
Yeah.
But it's still my biggest fear. Like I'm always like, even when I was like a junkie, I'd be like, I got to pay that ticket. You know, I don't want to go to jail.
Well, you know, I remember you and a bunch of these people from like Enter the Dragon and those places. Like, you know, like that, like Enter the Dragon.
Are you talking Enter the Dragon in the 80s here on fucking Edgecliff?
Yeah.
You remember me from back then?
Yeah, from there, and also like English Acid or one of those.
That
type
makes
places.
sense. But yeah, Enter the Dragon is some fucking OG shit. I mean, you're definitely like, you know, you're a ripe fucking apple if you're dropping Enter the Dragon. That's where Cliff's Edge is now.
Yeah, exactly. But I used to like, because I would go. You know Steve Sumney, that production designer.
I know the name.
You know him for sure. He was Steve Koivisto in the 80s. But
okay.
I used to go to those
incredible name, Steve Koivisto.
Yeah, I used to go there with him and Matt Dyke and that whole crowd. So I remember I have a really great memory.
You do
of faces, you know.
Yeah, that was a really important club. Fucking Matt. Did you ever go up to Matt's place? His house. Did you ever go to Matt Dyke's house?
Not the Echo Park, the one he died in.
Yeah.
No. I remember the apartment over there, like off Cochrane,
right.
And then the office was above like Tommy Tang's on Melrose. I've been there a bunch.
Right. Yeah, because he took an interest in one of the bands I was in early on, and this is 94, 93 maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was toast at that point. I mean, he was already toast. I mean, he had a long run.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, that dude was just selling Basquiat's and smoking crack for 25 years.
Dude, can I tell you something? Everybody thinks like he never was asked out. He died with almost $25 million in the bank.
No, I know.
He had most of those Basquiat's still.
You'd literally go to, that's what I was asking, because you would go to his house, and I didn't know who the fuck up. I was a fucking dumb rock kid from Sunset Boulevard. Like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I was like, what is these weird doors? Do you know what I mean? That have like weird fucking, looks like a kid drew on this door. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, do you know how he got those?
No.
In the early 80s, Matt had a job for not Gagosian, but one of these big art dudes in LA. I mean, it's like
like Saatchi?
One of those guys, but this is like 1982. Whoever would have been the relevant one then.
Oh, dude, I bet you I know who he was. Was it Arnold Ashkenazi?
Maybe.
Of the
I don't know.
the guys who ran the Mondrian?
I don't know. Whoever it was the guy who he had brought Basquiat to L.A. This is how long ago it was. It's when Basquiat was dating Madonna. And
that's like 85.
Matt, they hired Matt. You remember, because you remember, like Scott Weiland also had a thing where he did it. Like these these music dudes would get like day jobs driving people around, almost like a precursor to Uber.
Yeah.
But they were hired.
Yeah.
So Matt had a job driving Basquiat around, and they ended up with the Bug together. And what happened is they didn't have no money, and Basquiat would just draw something on a fucking board and be like, "Here, go cop." And Matt would just save it, hustle the money or whatever, you know?
So that's how he got on. Because he had a lot.
Like he had close to 20 of them. But that girl, I heard that girl he was with up until a couple years ago burned him for like half of them.
Yeah, I mean, he was just up there literally just smoking crack and eating Hawaiian bread, which, to be honest with you, doesn't sound that terrible. I mean, for 20 years, do you know?
I was about to say.
He was shooting dope too, though, right, Michelangelo?
I think so, but he felt more cracky to me.
He was, because I know he lost all his teeth and all that. Yeah. I didn't see him, but other people would run into him. But, you know, he did die sober, oddly.
He did?
Yeah. I guess he had like 5 or 6 months sober, you know?
Wow.
Like Bob Forrest or somebody helped him. Which is weird, but, you know, one of those,
right?
You know, recovery people who takes people's money or whatever.
Are we that candid here about the industrial recovery complex?
Dude, well, Danny worked at CRLA, that one with the rehab mogul, the dude who was just like, you heard about that?
Was
whole
that
thing, right?
the guy that Hillel did the story about? That like
yes,
right,
that guy,
right. Is that guy's in jail, right? Like he's
never getting out, I don't think.
Right. Yeah, that was crazy.
Dude, it gets way wilder. Only him and the head of accounting lady went to jail. That lady she took a deal, went to prison, and was in a fire camp. I'm not exaggerating, Michelangelo. They sent her to fight the Malibu fires, right? And she's literally on the property of Chris Batham, and a fucking axe fucking head flies off an axe and cuts her face open or something. I'm not even kidding you.
Jesus.
On the property of the dude she worked with in Malibu.
Oh my God. They sent her because they were sending prisoners out to fight the fire?
Yeah, because they go out there to cut the lines or whatever and all that shit, you know?
Well, that's some sweet justice.
Right? I mean, like, fucked her up.
Yeah, that is a fucked up industry. Did you do, because it was kind of funny. The only time that I only went to treatment once.
Mm-hmm.
I went to, and I had gotten to a point, this is 20 years ago. I'd gotten to a point where I had like one of my $20 a day habits. Do you know what I mean? But I just couldn't get clean. Like it was like, I just couldn't do it, do you know? And I'd had a year or two here and there. Like I was spotting around AA. I knew everybody. And I went to, it was called MAPS at that point. I don't know if it's still called MAPS.
I remember MAPS, yeah.
Right? And it was different people. It was Buddy, the old guy. It was in this other two. It was a different scene. And I remember I went to them and I was like, guys, I know I sound like every asshole, but I just need a bed. I need a bed for like 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we can't just give you a bed. You have to go into treatment. You have to do all. And I was like, I literally like negotiated, and like we got me 5 days of cry help, and then I had to do 30 days of sober living. And that was the only time I ever went to anything was cry help, which I remember when I was young thinking cry help was like, whoa, you're really fucked up if you're at cry help. Like that just seemed really scary. Like,
well, Christ, I don't know anything about it, but the name, I mean,
it's a frightening name.
Marketing standpoint, it's a frightening really loaded that gun.
But you know, it's kind of funny because this should sort of kind of gives you a little insight into my core addiction, which you know, my problem with food is I remember I was there, and they have a cupboard where you can get, you know, all the food you want, right? And they've got cookies and shit like that.
Yeah.
And I would go in there, and the girl there was a girl at the counter, and she was kind of, I don't know. I mean, she was hot enough. I mean, she was kind of attractive. Do you know what I mean? And I was a little ashamed of like going in there and like getting the cookies. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't want her to like see me eat. I'm kicking heroin, like, and I'm worrying about the girl like judging me for eating too many Oreo cookies. Do you know, like that's where my head was at. And I remember I was like kind of trying to kind of hide them in me, do you know, like to walk out. And she was like, you know, you can have as many as she caught me. I remember being so horrified that I was caught sneaking cookies by the pretty lady, you know.
Jesus.
And that was again kicking like so far from having anything that resembled a real life. Do you know what I mean? Because I was a fucking heroin addict, but I was like, she knows I eat the cookies, you know. And there was another funny thing that happened there too, was that, so I had a band called Plexi, which we played around a lot in the 90s. And we were on 120 minutes once. And we had, everything was banking on us being on 120 minutes. The whole thing banked on us being on 120 minutes. And that was it. And I'd met Matt Pinfield, who's hosting the show. And he had promised that he was like, I'm going to spin you guys all the time. I think you guys are great. I think you guys are awesome. I'm going to spin you guys all the time. Played us once.
That's a pretty good Matt Pinfield, by the way.
Right? Well, here's the funny thing. Hold
on one quick second, Michael. Hey, Danny, can you mute your phone?
Danny is like, just like, if you guys want to know what 5 grams of mushrooms looks like, it looks like Danny right now.
I can't even see Danny.
I can't either.
It's just like he's like a morph.
But I hear stuff.
His internet keeps going out.
Okay, so go ahead, Michael. So what happened with Matt Penfield?
So when I woke up from my first drug, from my first, you know, when they knocked me out at Cry Help, I wake up and Matt Pinfield's next to me.
No way.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And he's sleeping. So I finally, when he woke up, I was like, dude, why the fuck didn't you play my fucking band on 120 minutes?
Yeah.
And I can't, it was like, and he, you know, it really wasn't up to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm literally like confronting this poor guy who's like kicking drugs about why he didn't play my band on 120 minutes like 4 years ago. And just, so that was really my only thing. And then I stayed sober. I was sober for, I bounce around. I was sober for about 5 or 6 years. And then I tried drinking. I'm just like, kind of telling my story a little bit. And that was when I discovered that I liked cocaine. And then that pretty much brought me back in the rooms 10 years ago.
Good, ain't it?
I like cocaine. Do you guys like cocaine?
Yeah, everybody likes cocaine.
I like it the first 45 minutes.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. And I
like it. I like it in an IV form.
Well, here's the thing.
Always got to escalate, Danny. Always with the escalate.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem with that is that I had very early on when I was shooting heroin, I got endocarditis.
Oh,
what's that?
What is
that?
There's no way of saying what it is without sounding like you've got AIDS. It sucks, but it's like when you use a dirty needle and it basically it puts an infection in your heart. It's an infection in your heart from a dirty needle.
Wow.
Oh, like AIDS.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm kidding. No way. Okay, shit. Okay.
So
no, but I understand that.
What's that?
I understand that, and how it's very different, right? Like it's. So you get an infection and it travels into your heart.
It travels into your heart, and I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. And
okay.
And the doctor said, and I was young. I was like 20, 21. And the doctor said to me, he goes, listen, you, I'm not going to lie to you. You can do heroin. Like heroin's not a problem. Like you're going to, you know, you shouldn't, but it's not going to be as detrimental to you. You cannot ever shoot cocaine.
Really?
You've done something to your heart where you cannot shoot cocaine. And
oh wow!
And because of the way,
but everything else is fine, just not cocaine.
Because he phrased it that way, it stuck. Do you know what I mean? Because if he would have been like, "You can't ever do anything again," I would have been like, "Fuck you." But he sort of created a world that was believable to me. I was like, "Well, this kind of makes sense." So the few times that I speedballed, I was always terrified. I was like, are we sure we want to do this? Let's do it, and it was more just like a relief that I didn't die. Like that whole thing where like, I don't know, I came in my pants and I was glue and I was just like, I didn't die. Like that was the rush for me. It was like just not dying,
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So, but then I finally did kind of gave into some cocaine and began smoking cocaine, which is, I've really enjoyed. It was one of the few times I actually enjoyed the process of doing something. People always go, you got to get into the process and not the results. You know what I mean? And I like cooking it and making it and digging it and baking it in the oven and the video.
You did?
You know what I mean? Like it just was great. It was like,
dude, I fucking freebase cocaine one night, all night, and I was so fucking miserable, man.
You didn't like it?
Yeah.
No, because I just can't. I couldn't move. I'm just sitting there waiting for the pipe,
Well, yeah. I know. Well, you can't. Were you doing this with other people?
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's insane. You cannot. It's like crazy time. That's like that's like when you're in your 20s and you end up doing coke with some guy who's like got the acoustic guitar and he's the guy with the coke and the acoustic guitar. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, and you're like, he's like, I'm gonna do another song. You're like, no, you're not. You're just gonna give us more fucking coke. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you give me the fucking coke and then you can do your fucking songs? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So yeah, so then I did that. I came back and got sober again, and that was pretty much the last time I think, I don't know. But I've been pretty much sober for the better half of my adult life. I never really drank. And then over the course of the past couple of years, I kind of, to be perfectly honest with you, and I think that I think AA is as good as what you put into it. Do you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are not of any help to anybody there, it's not you're it's almost like get out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, like it's And I wasn't.
That's interesting.
It's true. I wasn't. I feel like an asshole, but I didn't really see my value in AA, and I wasn't going to meetings, and.
That's funny because I kind of do see your value in it. That's pretty funny you say that.
I
remember telling, in a very selfish way, I remember telling Cyrus, I was like, because just something I saw you put online. I was like, fuck, man, I wish Michael Angelos was here making us laugh, But that's a self-serving thing. But I think it's a necessity to have people that make people laugh.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Because who the fuck wants to be there if you're not having fun?
No, I know. And I'll tell you something. I do, especially since like I'm usually like asleep by like 10 o'clock at night these days. Like it's sort of nice having somebody to do it like 7. It's a great time to go do something.
Yeah.
Get out of the house.
What's the worst experience you've ever had on drugs?
Oh gosh. The worst experience. I really haven't thought about that. I mean, it's kind of weird because it all kind of feels like a whitewash of a lot of like just general, like just kind of like being in, hot and stinky cars, like being dope sick and, and being with some asshole chick and like, like I would say, I don't know. I probably I would say when I was smoking. I remember when I was smoking. I would smoke smoking a crack or whatever, and I would have panic attacks, and I would think that I'd smoked glass. Do you know what I mean? Like I would think that glass had gotten in my lungs. Do you know?
Yeah.
But then it would be the same pipe, right? So I'd have this pipe that was clearly putting glass in my lungs as far as I was concerned, but I needed to take another hit. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I remember being in that vacuum quite a bit. And I almost think that can sort of act as sort of an analogy to my whole life. Do you know what I mean? Like, like that was definitely it. And the thing about heroin was the problem with, honestly, being on heroin was always great. It was just everything about getting the heroin. You know what I mean? It was never like, oh, I did too much. I never OD'd. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, you can do too much heroin, but like, you know, let's just take ODing off the table. You can never really do too much heroin. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I did, you know, like, oh boy, I was crazy last night. I did too much heroin. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it kind of was always all I've ever wanted out of everything was just to knock out, you know, to go to like, to get zonked out. In fact, I will say this as this has been happening, and I don't crave heroin. I don't think about it. I don't think about it at all. I'm actually, I wouldn't like the thought of scoring drugs right now. I won't eat at a restaurant with a B. Do you know what I mean? Like I won't eat at a restaurant with a B grade. So the thought of taking something out of some motherfucker's mouth and like sticking it into is just,
That's amazing.
I can just see me like going to wherever people cop now, being like, so where's this stuff sourced, man? Do you know, like, do you guys know the farmers? Do you know? Do you guys know the guys that are, you know, the everything I consume now, I sort of like know the lineage of, and I couldn't imagine. But I will say that if there is something that does sound appealing when, you know, times get a little boring or weird, is the pharmaceuticals like the OxyContin and stuff like that, which I never really got into. I only kind of fucked around with a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But I can sort of see, I can see how that could easily become problematic if it was sort of like readily available, you know, and you thought the world was ending, and you could start playing out those sort of scenarios.
Like, I wonder how that works now too with teledoc and whatever. Like, you just like teledoc and be like, "Hey, doc," like, you know, like I don't know how that works, you know.
You can definitely. I'll tell you this: it's very easy to get benzos. That I can tell you. But
benzos are what, Xanax?
Yeah,
Xanax, Ativan, Klonopin, shit like that. Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
It's so easy that literally, like, you want to tell the doctor, like, look at me. Do you really want to make it? Do you really want to? Do you think that a guy with this many tattoos that's my age, that has a job, has any business, you know, taking a Xanax? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's actually been because I still don't drink, which still, you know, I basically live like I'm sober because I really don't, you know, do anything. But like when I have to go to the client dinners and with the advertising people and stuff like that. And the drinking thing comes up. I actually have just come to say, you don't look like this at my age and still drink. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you wouldn't want that guy at the table. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't want that guy at the table.
The crowd of people that like Michael Angelos is the guys who are like, I would say really, the guys who are really a few years older than Michael Angelos and I. And the people I remember mostly from that period, you know, that late 80s, early 90s thing in the music scene, there's so many fucking dead bodies. So many of those dudes died.
I know.
From drugs, you know? So a lot of them, they didn't make it living that lifestyle, you know?
A lot of people died. It's interesting because in my sort of swath of people, which I would say Callie would be part of that, and Renee would be part of that, and the kind of Campfire Girls guys like Andrew and Christian and all those guys. We had a pretty low carbon footprint of deaths in that scene. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of it's because those guys got sober and they took it real serious. You know?
Yeah.
And there was like a crew of dudes that got sober early aughts and took it really fucking serious and created kind of a culture that was like, because I've been in and out of AA for a long time. I've seen the many different hats of AA, do you know?
Right.
And, you know, I've seen people that are just sober, do you know? And I've seen people that work really hard at it, do you know? And, that particular crew worked really hard at it, and it showed. And those people and the people immediately around them stayed sober and active in recovery. And And I think that's the big difference. But yeah, a lot of fucking people died.
I always tell those guys.
I mean, it's crazy how many people are dying every day. You know, I mean, Keith knows like how many people I've lost. You know, it's like it doesn't fucking end. You know, but it's changed. It's also like that's.
You know, it was a weird one. This was a while ago. It's like weird when somebody who was sober for a long time dies. You know, like when Cliff Cantor died. That was weird. Because that was a guy I knew for a long time. You know, and he'd been sober for a very long time.
Now let me ask you. You remember the Cantor brothers from the '90s, right?
You mean his brother Brett?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was friends with Brett.
Okay, so you remember Brett, and you remember like Breck Lampkin.
Breck Lampkin. Now here, okay, this is funny. I know Breck Lampkin since I was 13 years old. Breck Lampkin fucked Carrie. He fucked Carrie. But the girl that got me kicked out of junior high, Breck Lampkin fucked her.
Breck Lampkin dated one of my best friends for years, a girl named Taylor. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, you're like that. That's who I think about when I hear Covina.
Yeah. So
okay.
I literally lived at that house. Her brother was my best friend.
He was. I mean, Breck's MAGA.
Yeah. Oh, he is?
Yes.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because I know he's like from a wealthy family, right?
No, I know, but I really realize that I am that sort of cancel culture left that can't deal with his MAGA-ness.
Well, you know what's weird? I was in prison. I hope I haven't talked about this before, but you'll follow this. People who weren't around at that time didn't like, because at that time, like Breck and Taylor and all those like people in LA, like in the mid '90s, because people in Hollywood were getting into methamphetamine, and I was dealing the shit, right?
Right.
So I was dealing it to all their friends and shit like that, and a weird thing had happened is, I got busted. I was in prison, and the O.J. Simpson thing happens. He gets chased and blah, 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 right? Well, I told you, I have a really good memory, and you'll remember this. Do you remember how Cliff's brother died?
Of course I do. He was stabbed, and I think I know who stabbed him.
Oh, you do? Because
do you remember Glenn?
No, I don't think so.
Glenn was the door guy that they thought did it.
He might have done it, but
I still think Cliff did it.
Really?
Well, he got.
I heard it was Charlie.
He got the girl.
Charlie did it,
and he got the job. He literally just parked right in his garage and took over his life when he died.
Well, but here's the one thing. Do you remember how cokey they were? Like Brett Kantner. And he was friends with Ron Goldman and all them. Do you remember that?
No, Cliff was, Cliff. Yeah. I mean, he was in and out of AA at that point. So I'm sure that they were. I mean, Brett, I don't remember Brett being cokey, but he may have been.
Well, the rumor on the street in the early '90s was Brett owed some dudes. I think they were, I can't remember what nationality they were, but some serious dudes a bunch of money for coke when he, that hung out at that club.
Right.
And he was telling everybody, fuck those dudes, I'm not paying them. Well, he got killed, and that they almost cut his head off with that knife.
Yeah, it was a violent stabbing.
Right. Well, so I'm busted. They arrest OJ and all that kind of shit. I don't think anything of it. But by the time I got out, they had said that the way that they killed Nicole Brown was her head was almost cut off. And listen, I understand now. Of course, I think OJ did it.
Right.
But at that time, I told Taylor and Breck, I go, call me fucking crazy. I go, but they're all friends. I go, and everybody's doing blow. Isn't it weird? You know what I mean? Like, he got killed the same fucking way as Nicole Brown.
Huh.
Same exact way.
God.
And,
so you think OJ did it?
Absolutely.
I think OJ killed that fool too. Yeah.
Oh no.
OJ killed that.
Just running through, just goes to the airport and then is just like, shit, I can't leave yet.
I mean,
that was the warm up. That was his warm up. That was the test run.
I did not think. I mean, it's interesting because Keith, you brought up a couple things that I was like, wow, I didn't. But to bring up Breck, when I met Breck, he was Brett. But to bring up Breck and Taylor, so yeah, because Breck lived there. Basically, I mean, that was like he lived at Taylor's.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, he lived there, and I lived at that house. You know what I mean?
Was his name? Can I ask you guys a question? Wait, you just said something, Michael Angelos.
Yeah.
And your last name is Angelos with an S
with
at
an
the
S,
end?
yeah.
Oh, okay, Michael Angelos. Got it. All right. Was he named one thing when you knew him, and then he changed?
He
his
did a name
to...
change. He did a mid. Yeah, he did. He did a midlife. He did a mid. I say around 18 or 19. He switched to Breck, and
what did he change?
He went from Brett to Breck.
He went from Brett to Breck.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
That was the fucking.
I mean,
change.
I'm
Breck.
sorry, but
That's a cool name.
it's a cool. I mean, he did it. He said
just like it's also a shampoo.
And a popular
B,
one in the 80s too, mind you, because
so
you tell a
strange
25-year-old
like,
Breck, they're not going to know what the fuck you're talking about, you know.
They don't know shit.
No.
But the thing, yeah, it's like me changing my name to Prel.
Yeah.
But but no, it's not though. It's like being like, hey, my name's Mike, and I think I'm going to change my name to Mick.
Yeah. No, I know. It was.
And you're like, wow, that's really clever.
The fact that he's MAGA, I kind of feel like he's almost like a Nazi zombie. You know, like you can make fun of, like, you know, you can always kill the Nazi and kill the zombie. You can make fun of the MAGA person. Like, you know, it's like there's, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying he's a Nazi. I'm just putting.
Dude, no, but I mean, like you're on the right side or the wrong side of this thing, unfortunately.
Exactly.
I've become a little extremist in that sense, especially since the lockdown.
Well, I became extremist when Trump clearly became a public health crisis. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was kind of like, okay, we'll do 4 more years. I'm sick of him being in every news cycle. I'm making good money. Do you know, like, this is not going to be good for the environment or for reproductive rights, but you know, we'll make some money. But we've now clearly crossed into something much different. Do you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I do. I gotta say one thing though. I don't think it's just him. I think that that fucking governor of New York completely shit the bed. They didn't go on lockdown until after us, and he's a fucking Democrat.
Oh yeah, no, I mean
Newsom or what? Not Newsom.
Newsom is fucking running. Newsom and Garcetti are fucking crushing it right now. I mean,
I fucking hate Garcetti, but
why do you hate him?
Because he's fucking destroying LA. He fucking let them build those fucking high rises everywhere. I hate that guy.
Oh, see, I'm like the kid that just heard the hit song, and I'm like, I like that band. Like, I don't know anything about it. I just like see him on Instagram.
I'm
like,
not a huge fan.
Yoga Pants Garcetti.
I know he's got good people in his crew, but I'm not. I know he's got good people in his crew, but I'm not a big fan. I'm super impressed that fucking Gavin Newsom, man. I gotta say, I just want to. I was telling, I want to walk around just like a little puppy dog and just be his friend.
I know he's very attractive.
It's pretty fucking. I'll tell you the thing. They're like, you can be proud of LA because they're so far ahead of it.
Right.
Knock on wood. That literally, like, I mean, you figure there's 4 of us who work in production and Danny works in a rehab. That's a lot of fucking human beings to interact with, and none of us know anybody with it here. You know?
No.
Well, I mean, I do.
Not here though, right, Danny?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know motherfuckers here.
Oh, you do?
Now I do. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just on the East Coast.
No, now I know people. Yeah. I mean, not anybody I've seen in the last like few months, but I know some people here that got it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like quite a few people.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if any of the cavity creeps got it, like the homeless dudes in Hollywood.
Oh, I'm sure.
Cavity creeps.
I mean,
but I think you have a pretty great immune system when you're living that homeless life. You know, it's like living in prison.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
number 1 rule: never fuck with a bum.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's I mean, I would
don't like.
No.
Yeah, man. Someone who is enduring that kind of difficulty will be very strong.
Well, I mean,
very tough and very fast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
here's the other thing about being a junkie. Like when you're constantly just getting loaded, you don't get like the only kind of sick you get is dope sick. You know, you don't get the flu when you're strung out. You know.
Yeah.
Like you don't get. You know, so it's like. I wonder, and then it catches up to you, like right when you get sober, you know. So I wonder if like all these fools are gonna like someday be like, hey, I'm gonna get sober, and then just get smacked with the COVID, you know?
Yeah, COVID creep.
Yeah.
I've always been a believer that if you keep your vessel as toxic as possible, those good shit won't live in there, you know, so you get the poopies.
Right.
The same thing is going to happen the reverse. Bad shit's not going to want to be there either. They're going to be like, whoa, this dude's disease. There's nothing here for me.
You might be onto something, Mike.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not a doctor.
Dr. Mike.
I'm not
Dr.
a
Mike.
I haven't told Michael Angelos this before, but I've told all you guys, man. I got out of prison. My friend had AIDS, and I gave him methamphetamine, and he came right back to life. It was like $1 million the whole time until I got busted. You know what I mean? Because people who do methamphetamine don't get colds. That's just a fact. You don't get a cold. You don't get the flu. You don't get any. This shit's made of cold medicine. It's made of fucking. You know what I mean?
Ah, I never thought of that.
But I mean,
I thought it was controlled by gamma lights.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
Okay,
cool.
You have to have space doo-doo pistols, though, or it doesn't.
Cool. Yeah. I got one. I got one. It's in the Uber. I left it in the Uber.
Hey, Michael Angelos, have you ever smoked PCP?
You know what? I have not.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I'll tell you. Again, this was this was another potent moment in my life. Mark Mansfield, when I was in 7th grade, Mark Mansfield was an 8th grader, and I asked him about PCP, and he said he smoked it once, and he thought maggots were eating his brain.
Ooh.
And that was a profound, it was a very potent image for me. So when it came around, which I think we were at the tail end of PCP.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know, I think PCP was like more the older guys that like Thin Lizzy were doing PCP.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a different scene.
You're right.
But
no, you're right.
I've done, I mean, the most insane drug I've done, I did in July, I did 5 grams of mushrooms and a heavy dose of MDMA. And
what of MDMA?
I don't know how much it was, but it was like, it was a hippie flip, basically. It was with my therapist. It was I had blindfold and like music and 6 hours.
Oh, wow. So you did a hippie flip, but you did what's called the what do they call that? The something dose, the courageous dose,
the heroic dose. I did the heroic dose.
Heroic dose. I never can remember that. Yeah.
So wait, how was that?
It was incredible.
It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was otherworldly. It was. I mean, you know, I have to say this. You know, there was a lot of, you know, I was in therapy. I had intention. I was working through very specific things. There were goals. I was meditating a lot. I've definitely, you know, it wasn't just like, hey, I wasn't, you know, dancing at Coachella. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was intention and there was work, and, you know, even burned a little sage, you know what I mean? Like, there was a thing. But yeah, like I would say that I won't say that I experienced ego death. That did not take place, but I did find, it's problematic because this language has become so kind of cliche, but sort of like the oneness and sort of like, you know, the great mandala and sort of like kind of understanding a larger piece of things. And I do feel it recalibrated my brain, and I came out of it being able to function more from a place of love and less from a place of fear than I had before. I'm not going to say that it was, and it was a gradual, it wasn't like an overnight thing. I would say I'm still having insights, you know, 7-8 months later. And they're contingent on the work that I do. I mean, it's sort of contingent on how much I'm meditating and how much, you know, I'm sort of actively engaged in, you know, changing the way that I'm, you know, behaving and looking at life and stuff like that. But it definitely gave me like a kickstart to having a relief from, I would say that because I, you know, the real thing is that I suffered from depression, serious depression for most of my life. I would say that dropped by about 70%, and the anxiety dropped Still comes, but it dropped by about 40%.
Oh, that's great. Were you hallucinating and shit?
You're beyond hallucinate. You're in a blindfold. So
oh, right.
Your eyes are closed. You're in a blindfold. He has a playlist, which is pretty, I mean, he's a cool dude. There's like Eno and stuff in there. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't like, you know, there was some stuff that was a little like, whoa, I guess we're doing a little world now, but you're so fucking high. You're like, play the bongo. This is great, you know, but
kick that Enya.
Yeah, I didn't get that bad, but you know, we were definitely in world territory. That's sort of outside of my thing. But it was you
return to innocence, brother. Come on.
But I'll tell you this: when you do, because you do have to pee. At least I had to pee. I had to pee a lot. And when you can't open your eyes because you're literally like you're in a kaleidoscope. Like you open your eyes and everything's just like, you know what I mean? Like. So you had to like help me to go pee and but it's weird because like you're really fucking high. Like I had actually when I was on the docket to do it, and then my dad died. This was in June of last year. And so he was like, listen, I think we should wait on the mushrooms, but why don't we do an MDMA session? And I was like, okay. And I was never much of a Molly guy, you know, but I was like, sure, why not? And actually, in the way that it works, again, this is therapy. This is like, you know, this is not just some fucking asshole in Topanga. This is like a guy who, like, we were talking about like my trauma and, you know, my issues and issues around sex and issues around food and issues around like all this stuff. So there was definitely some scaffolding around this. And then, you know, you basically just go in, you close your eyes, and you just get you go in and you're doing all this work on yourself internally. And I did the MDMA and I really liked it. And it was great. It's really kind of shitty the next couple of days, like coming down off of MDMA kind of sucks, but it was great. And I actually got a lot of insight in that experience. But when I did the mushrooms, you do 5 grams of mushrooms, and, you know, about an hour later, you're really fucking high. And that's when they give you the hippie flip. That's when they give you the MDMA.
Oh, okay.
And he times the playlist so that when the MDMA starts kicking in, like there's this, I think there's like a Fortet song or something, but it's like literally like washes of love start kind of like tickling all. I mean, it's really profound and it's really beautiful because you're in a place where you are there for, you know, again, I don't like these terms, but you're like there to heal, you know, and to really target the things that haunt you and to target your fears. It's like when something scares you comes up, you know, you're supposed to lean into it and you're supposed to sort of experience it and sort of embrace it. And it sort of helps change your relationship. It kind of functions. It's interesting because I had to write a paper for my psych class and I sort of talked about how it sort of touched all the different schools of psychotherapy. And, you know, there's a cognitive piece too, where you can sort of really kind of like confront things that are scary and see that they're not that scary. And they're usually like the kinds of things that you've been telling yourself your whole fucking life that are just the stupid same things you kind of tell yourself. And you're like, what's really going on there?
Yeah.
And you're in a space where you can actually explore that stuff because, you know, frankly, you know, you've got so much serotonin coursing through your body that you're pretty courageous, you know? Yeah. So for me, that experience was really, really profound and really helpful. And, you know, it's weird. It's a weird world. The sort of plant medicine culture is a little kind of gross, I think. I think there's a lot of not bad people, but just not very smart people that are in that world, and a lot of bad hippies. And
for sure,
it's real Burning Man adjacent.
I absolutely agree.
And, you know, I do think there's a tremendous amount of value there. And I think that there's there's a foundation called MAPS that's doing a lot of work to bring this stuff to the forefront, and I think that it's going to have a tremendous amount of psychotherapeutic value, but we're still learning.
You hungry?
You know,
yeah. Didn't they just legalize LSD in Oakland or something?
They legalized mushrooms. I know they legalized mushrooms in Oakland.
Mushrooms, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But really? In truth, why I'm pursuing this degree in psychotherapy is because I kind of want to pursue this as a modality to help people, because it was really helpful for me, and also I don't know what the fuck else I'm going to do in 10 years when no one wants to hire us.
Right. I know people who have done not the peyote. What's the other shit?
Ayahuasca.
Yeah, ayahuasca, and everybody. It says it's pretty nuts, but it's pretty great.
Yeah, that I haven't done that. I've been very suspicious of the scenes of people that do. There's one guy I know who has a group that I would probably do it with because I sort of trust him and his sensibilities. But for the most part, it's kind of a lot of dumb hippies up in, it's kind of like your worst yoga class all on drugs. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's like everything that's awful about a yoga class for 12 hours and you're high. Do you know?
Yeah. Have you ever been
sounds miserable.
Coachella or Burning Man, Michael?
I haven't. No, I've never been to Coachella. I've never been to Burning Man. I've been a Burning Man. Just sounds awful, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Oof.
I mean, I still say I like doing all my drugs in the bathroom. That's where I like to do drugs. I don't want to do my drugs in the bunch of fucking assholes in the desert.
That's the one thing I've never I know people
in the heat. No, I want to be in the fucking bathroom. Maybe one other person. That's it. Just us. We're here. It's cool. Doors closed.
And also, to me, the Burning Man vibe is like the same person who buys like the weed pen that's called the Bliss pen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the weed pen that tells you what that weed's supposed to do for you. That you need.
Full disclosure, I've been that person, but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
No, it's just something. Yeah, believe me, I've been all kinds of persons with weed. Yeah, doses. I've tried it all. I'm not saying I haven't tried it. I'm just saying if that's your shit, like there's just a strange. I don't know what it was like 20 years ago or whenever the fuck it first started happening. But all I know is whenever anyone ever explains it to me or starts telling me about Burning Man, it makes me want to go to bed.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this. Whatever it was 20 years ago,
wash my whole body and all of it.
Whatever it was 20 years ago wasn't interesting to me then, because it's like, if you think about it, it's like, yeah, we're going to go out to the desert for a week. There's no power. There's no toilets. There's no nothing. And we're going to, play dance music for a week.
Yeah.
Be like,
dank. Awesome. I'll race you.
Yeah. You guys knock yourselves out.
That sounds awesome.
I can't stand that type of fucking music. None of it. You know what I mean?
No, it's all terrible. That's been kind of the one of the hiccups in sort of my, in exploring these, these substances has been the culture around it, because, in truth, the original culture around it is very interesting to me. All the hippies in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, that's 100% like, great, but something happened to hippies in the 90s and they never recovered. Like they started wearing goggles and they started doing this thing with their hair, and I don't know what the fuck happened, but it's terrible.
Yeah.
To me, let's be honest. I gotta say that if I probably spent too much time with a bunch of hippies, like back in like 68, 69, I'd probably be like, that's cool. I'm going to grab these drugs and roll.
I think now that I'm 50, they look like, it's taken some time, but now they all look like I look at everybody at Woodstock and I'm like, that just looks awful.
Dude, really?
It looked great when I was 14. It looked awesome. But now I'm like, ugh.
No, dude, of course. Fucking. Yes. Yes. I'm betraying every poster I had in my bedroom when I
will say, at least at that time,
right now,
even though they were all fucked up on drugs and had the free love, at least they stood up for shit they believed in.
Something.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what the closest I've been to all that was? You guys remember Occupy LA? I mean, not like it was that long ago,
Hell yeah.
So I was living in Silver Lake, and I was like, man, this looks kind of cool. Like I want to go check it out, and I had I had that little guest house that we talked about, where I was living, whatever, with Sasha, and I was like, I want to go check out Occupy LA, and I went down there and I was making edibles, so I brought a bunch of shit and I handed it out to dudes, and they were like, dude, thank you so much. There was a dude, and I remember because he said it in a specific way. He was like, do you like ketamine? And I was like, I like ketamine. He's like, I got some really good ketamine. You want some? And I was like, hell yeah, So then he busted out a bunch, and I started doing it with him. And then he was like, man, he's like, you're so cool. Like we start vibing, you know, and he's like, I got it. My friend just left town. I got an extra tent here. Like, you want to just, you know, and I was like, dude, hell yeah. So I move in this tent at Occupy LA in front of City Hall, you know. And meanwhile, I have an apartment up the street, and I spent like 3 days there, like 3 entire days. You know, I didn't go home, you know, just doing ketamine, you know, with this fool. And then I was like, hey, and then I didn't want to tell him that like I had an apartment, because I remember in the back of my mind, I'm like, if I tell these fools I have a place, they're all gonna want to come over and shower, and like, you know, once this ends, which is gonna end very soon, you know, then I'm gonna just have like a colony of these fucking dirt bags like living with me, you know. So I would just cut out, and I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna go see if I can get some more edibles, and I'd go shower and change, and then I'd come back and hang out. I did this for maybe like 5-6 days, and I was finally like, man, I've had enough of these fools, you know. It was started off being this like cool movement, and everybody was there, and then it just got like really dirty and dark, and all these like, I don't know, you know, like it just got really weird, like really, really too weird.
Yeah, it was a weird scene.
That's the closest I've been to Burning Man, you know. That's hilarious. Occupy LA. Yeah.
I never did. I think the closest to any that I went to see The Dead at Ventura County Fairgrounds when I was like 13, and camped out I don't even know. I can't believe my dad let me just go up to fucking a Dead show for 2 days with like a bunch of fucking freaks. And like, I didn't have a fucking ticket. Like, and you didn't need one. You just hung out in the fucking, you know, parking lot. Do you know? I was like a 13-year-old kid just dropping ass in the fucking parking lot. But yeah, none of that sort of like survivalist shit never, you know. In fact, like when heroin got a little too like in the streets for me, I was like, oh guys, I don't know. I think I'm just you guys can go do the streets thing, you know, like I've never had this. I've never really been a streets guy. You weren't into urban camping? No,
as they call it?
No, it's just horrifying to me.
But Michael Angelos was part of like, well, okay, here's the funny, dude, that whole crowd of these, and you got to remember, I was dipping in and out. Like I'd be in Hollywood selling speed, and then I'd be busted. Then I'd be in Hollywood, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'd come and go, but there's this crowd of people around those Jane's Addiction guys. And the wildest thing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Michael Angelos, but it seemed to me, everybody in that circle would end up with a habit except Perry. He would just go and like fucking go surfing in Mexico while everybody's like back here like sucking dicks for dope.
Was an unfair anomaly in the game.
Yeah.
He really was an unfair anomaly in the game. No one could keep up with Perry. People still can't keep up with him. It's really weird. He could you know, kids like me, you know, Perry's 10 years older than us, right? So he was definitely the cool, you know, the cool older guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you know, no one can keep up with him. He and still to this day, I mean, I don't know what there's just something, you know, frankly, there's something kind of supernatural about that guy. And I don't mean that in like some like I'm a fan type way, because I think he's sort of corny and weird and has a bad facelift now, but you know,
you're absolutely, dude. In '98, I was in Impact with both Weilands, Mike and Scott, right?
Right.
And we were in the fucking Impact van going to a meeting, and you know, like I don't do heroin, but I was talking to Scott about like all you Hollywood junkie types, like rock and roll dudes, you know, because that's what it was. It was like a rock and roll thing.
And it was definitely like a scene. Do you know what I mean? It was definitely like you had to do heroin just to get in the room. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just, you know, like
it was a big fucking part of that scene. I was terrified of the shit, you know, but I was talking to Scott about it, and I had said to Scott, and I didn't even really know Perry, you know what I mean? But I just told him, I said, listen, I go, somebody who's like in and out, like just dealing drugs to people in this scene, I hear everything that goes on. And the thing that's apparent to me is, and I told Scott this is in a van. I go, I don't think Perry's a fucking addict, man. I go, that guy fucking goes surfing in Mexico while everybody back here's lives are exploding. I go, and Scott goes, oh, he's an addict. I go, I don't think so. Like you're here, you know what I mean? Like, and, that's the best. As Scott goes like this, he goes, do you like Jane's Addiction? I go, listen, it's not really my fucking cup of tea, but I can appreciate what that guy does to move the crowd or whatever, you know?
Right.
And I swear to you, Scott goes like this, you got to see me.
Oh, Jesus.
Really?
That guy.
Yeah.
Really?
Dude.
Wow.
Man.
That
he
guy
was something else.
Yeah,
listen, I gotta say, like, I may be the odd man out here, but fucking Jane's Addiction, when Jane Says dropped, it was a game changer.
Oh,
it was a fucking game changer in terms of like
absolutely. In 1988,
in terms of the 89 when Ritual I think came out in 89 or 90 or no, which one of them, but Jane Says was it was 86, 78. It was around 88, 89.
It was 88.
And
Nothing Shocking came out in 88. Yep.
And it dropped, and I was like, wow, like this is just different than any other. I mean, you imagine at that point. I mean, I was literally like changing, like taking off like a Dead Can Dance record. You know,
you were a goth kid.
And, well, yeah, I had all sorts of shit, but I was a like 80s club music kind of guy, right. Basically.
No, 1980. I mean, it was the funniest thing about Jane's Addiction was that I didn't want to like Jane's Addiction because I was already too cool to like Jane's Addiction when they were playing around.
Yeah.
And then a girl that I was dating broke up with me to go out with Dave, and I remember I was at some club and they were playing the music video for Mountain Song. And I remember I was watching the video, and I was watching with Breck. I was with Breck, and we're watching the video, and we both look at each other, and we're both like, "Dude, this is pretty fucking rad." You know, like the cool guys kind of like letting go. And then I'm watching the video, and then I look, and then fucking Dave is making out with my ex-girlfriend in the video. Like the minute I'd sort of succumb to Jane's Addiction. Like now it was like, but yes, you couldn't. They were amazing live. They were kind of one of the last great LA bands. I mean, I'm still think that, again. I don't know who's going to listen to this, but what they became was a little,
corny as fuck.
Yeah, they became
like
a
not
little
a little, like it became corny.
Yeah, it's a little corny. And
I was fine. It's funny because when I was first here in 90, I remember going with a friend to one of these fucking downtown events that was like chain link fences, and I don't even remember, but all I know is that fool had a couple of big dogs, a couple of big Great Danes.
Wow.
And just the coat, and and it was that vibe. It was like a couple of people from like Flea was there, and a couple of people from the Red Hots.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Then there was Jane's Addiction. It was just that period of music, and I was totally out of my element. I didn't really I'd known who the Red Hots were. Like I definitely got into those in the mid '80s, earlier actually, just because that Austin scene and that weird sound was so powerful.
Is that where you're from? Are you from Austin?
No, but I had friends who were from there and who got me into, for whatever reason, they were just colossal there.
Right.
I don't really, I didn't know much at all about them. But I remember going downtown to that thing and seeing Perry and being like, God, this is so rad. This is great. This is awesome. It's almost corny. Like this is almost some sort of weird D&D shit. Like it was a little, but they were powerful.
No, they were really. It was really exciting seeing those guys. I mean, it was.
Before and then 3 years later, it was like they make great pets, and I was like, "What happened? What happened?"
Exactly. Yeah.
Dude, like they had a record. They had a record before Nothing Shocking. Do you remember this, Michael?
Yeah, it was the live record.
Yeah, the live record was a fucking masterpiece.
It's great.
It's fucking incredible. You're totally right.
Incredible.
Wow, I haven't thought of that in a long ass time.
They do Sympathy for the Devil.
Totally true.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's safe to say that, like, in fact, I was in bands with Breck at that time, and we were, aggressively ripping off Jane's Addiction at that point in our lives.
Wait, were you in that band Sinistar?
No.
He was in? Wasn't that one of his bands?
Yeah, Breck was in a band. He was in a new metal band called Sinistar. Breck's one of the luckiest guys. The one thing I will say, Breck has got the luck of. I mean, he's just a lucky guy.
Yeah.
And he had been bumping around in bands forever, and none of them ever got any traction. And then he basically got in this band that was put together by Fred Durst, and some other guy, kind of like a new metal boy band, basically. You know, it was fairly kind of curated band. And they did like a couple of tours with Limp Bizkit. So Breck had like 2 years of stadium tours.
Wait, with Sinistar?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they didn't sell any record. I don't think they did anything, but they just got on that train. Do you know what I mean? When that thing went in 99, 2000.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I remember he was in that band when I met him, I think. And I just remember like Limp Bizkit's arguably the worst band in history, I think. But I didn't even know. I never even heard Sinistar before. You know, I knew Breck was in the band. I liked him. He was a nice enough guy, but he didn't leave Covina because my friend that dated him, Taylor, I watched her do that to every dude she dated. They couldn't get away from her. They were just like addicted to her, you know?
Well, she took care of them. I mean, she literally, because he was like a bum.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, he didn't have a job.
I don't think he has a job now either.
I don't think he does either. I'm really, when we sort of, I mean, look, he moved to Palisades or something like that, which is just like, there's no way to even maintain anything with that. But I've never gotten a clear sense of what he was doing professionally.
I don't think he does anything. I'm almost positive he's a stay-at-home dad. And
I think he's a stay-at-home dad. His mom, his mom. Wow, that was funny. His wife is it's funny shit talking like this, but she's whatever. He's MAGA. I love the guy, but he's Is
he really MAGA?
Yeah, he's MAGA.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, in a way, it's sort of fascinating. And we spoke when my father died. We spoke, and he didn't want to talk about politics. And I said, listen, I just don't know anybody that is MAGA, so you have to work with me here because I feel like I'm like talking to an exotic bird. Like I'm normally like arguing with like burners, you know what I mean, or like people like I'm in the left arguing with the left, how we're going to give everybody health care, you know, like.
Yeah, that's totally fucking fair too. Like if you're willing to enter into a conversation and be moderate and be interested, because I'm of the mind, whatever, and I don't want to get myself worked up. It's not good for my blood pressure. But, I'm of the mind of like, we're at a fuck all you motherfuckers place.
Yeah.
So if we're going to listen and we're going to be cool, then like, that's accept.
I agree with you.
Like, don't nitpick.
Well, I was like, because I love Bernie, and I do agree with you. Like his shit's a little bit far fetched, but I'll say this because I told Seamus and Hillel and them last time because everybody was so gung ho about Hillary, and I go, she's not beating him. You're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah, that was
Like, and I'll tell you something. That guy marching, when they start talking about him saying grab the pussy, and that guy marches in. Jennifer Flowers and all those women.
It was the most powerful, the smartest political move anybody has ever made
in history. That's what I said. And I mean,
that was a work of fucking political genius.
It was, and it was
brilliant.
And it's like, because I put up a thing the other day, like Joe Biden is, whatever, I'll take anybody, I guess, but I mean that guy, and I'm not somebody who really thinks he's senile, but he definitely isn't great at putting sentences together.
No, dude, I don't think he's senile necessarily, but he's certainly got a case.
I mean, this is my take on Biden. This is my take on Biden.
Case of the blabba-dabbas.
We've got to get the old man up the mountain, and I think we can. I think we have a shot, and I do think we got to get the old man up the mountain. Yeah, and I think we got to at least pretend like we got a shot, but we got it because. Here's the thing. What we are seeing right now is what happens when you don't have competent government. This is an understaffed, incompetent government at work.
Yes.
Right now. And like the Democrats or not, we love staffing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're like, oh, let's find somebody to do this and let's have a department of the department of the department. Do you know what I mean? Like we love a department, and like we need departments right now. We need like 20 departments and we need like educated, skilled, like we need the best in the field. And Obama was like the master staffer.
Yeah.
So like, I'm of the mind of like, let's just get the old man in. He's probably going to pick Warren. That's my guess. And I'm not crazy about Warren, and for no good reason other than I'm probably because I'm an asshole. Do you know what I mean? She just kind of bugs me.
No. I know why. Because she's a fucking phony. And don't get me started.
Well, I think that's unfair. I think that's unfair because you got to remember
she played a bullshit game, 2 elections in a fucking row, and got in the way of real progress with her bullshit, phony, progressive mask. That's what's wrong with Elizabeth Warren to me.
Victor?
I mean, we do have to remember that she was that nice lady that became a senator to go after the banks. I mean, that was what she started as 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And how did that fucking work out? They're doing great.
Well,
B of A is being more. B of A and Wells Fargo are just as fraudulent now as they've ever fucking been.
Fair enough.
No, she's a petty functionary and she's a pawn, and I don't buy it. And her and Buttigieg can go fuck it.
Wow, you're a real burner.
I'm a hard burner, yes, sir. I am a hard burner, but
I mean, I'm a centrist cuck. Do you know what I mean? I'm like oh, let's just milk toast this whole thing. Do you know what I mean? And let's not shake the tree too much. Did we lose Danny?
Agreed.
Well, Danny, he's been dropping in and out.
No, I'm here.
Oh, good.
Oh, you're here. Nice.
Oh, he's there.
Yeah,
We lost
I'm
you on
here.
the video.
Yeah, my phone died.
Gotcha.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, but I'm still here. Still kicking.
That's wild because we're still on the thing. I can only see Mike Fiala.
How long are these things generally? Because we're going 2 hours here. This is like turning into a Rogan.
It's usually about 2 hours.
Yeah,
hey,
usually
Michael,
between an hour and a half and 2 hours.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
No, I can with full authority I can say I've never had a supernatural experience.
None. Interesting.
I mean,
huh.
No, I'm a pretty devout and ardent materialist. I'm a within 10% atheist. You know, I'm not going to pretend to know absolute. You know, but no, I don't think there's. I think that our proclivity to believe things that are untrue far outweigh the possibilities of things we don't know spooking us, you know, like
interesting.
That's sort of my take, but I've never had anything. I've seen some far out shit. I mean, my dad was really involved with the American Indians and, or Native, I don't know what we're supposed to call anybody anymore, but,
no one does.
He called them Indians and he did a lot of work with them. And, I remember when I was about 9 years old, we would go up to Hopi Land, which is up near Flagstaff, in the middle of August, and we would watch a ceremony. It was a rain dance, and these guys would fucking dance on top of a mesa with live rattlesnakes in their fucking mouths, the dead of fucking summer, and I swear to God, it would start raining. They made fucking rain.
Oh, no shit.
You know? So, and you're on a mesa, so like you could sort of see the whole world, you know, 360, and then clouds just kind of floated in, and it would rain. And so... Whereas I might not believe in ghosts, I do think that you know, if you dance with some urgency, with rattlesnakes in your mouth, something might listen.
Yeah.
So, like these guys really mean it. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's give them some rain.
They need that rain. Yeah, these motherfuckers really need it.
They need the rain. But
what was that weird thing you saw?
What's that?
What you said that you've seen some really weird things. What else?
I mean, like that would be like in the bracket of weird things that I've seen. Do you know? Beyond that, no, I haven't really. I've never seen a ghost. I've never had any other worldly things. In fact, it's interesting because both my parents died within 6 months of each other within last year, basically. And now I'm starting to be like, God, it'd be weird if there are ghosts, because does that mean that they're just like watching me like do all my weird fucking shit now? Like you kind of don't want there to be ghosts because you kind of want to think that people you knew can see you doing weird shit. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah. Fuck, I never even thought about it like that. Yeah.
Like if there's ghosts, if there's ghosts, then somebody you know has watched you jerk off. Do you know what I mean? And that's
and not only do they watch you jerk off, that means they've seen what I jerk off to, which is really all bad.
Yeah. they're like, boy, he really likes the trannies on Chatterbait. There's something going on there, you know.
Oh hell no, tranny ass to mouth. Like wow, that's something. Wow, I didn't even know that was a category.
Exactly. Yeah, like sophisticated tastes. So I think we hope there aren't ghosts, so that these, personal moments are ours. You know.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
Are you Googling ghosts watching people masturbate?
Yes.
No, it's fascinating.
I am.
No, I'm Googling tranny ass to mouth.
Yeah, no. Sorry. I apologize.
Who was the weirdest human being you've ever met in Los Angeles?
Who's the weirdest human being? God.
Oh, wow.
These are such hard questions because I don't even know where to get dinner. So pull. I'm always like, there's nowhere to eat in Los Angeles. There's been so many fucking weird fucking people. I mean, like I'm trying to think of people that we know. Do you know what I mean? Like that, so that. I mean, the thing is being in around, AA in Los Angeles, anywhere really, you just really, the bar of weird gets sort of set. Do you know what I mean? So like Crazy Peter, is he weird? I mean, he's kind of weird. You know what I'm talking about, Peter?
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Right.
Oh yeah. Fuck.
But he's sort of normal weird, and he's extremely weird. That guy, like that should be somebody be like, that's a weird fucking guy. Do you know what I mean? So
what is he like?
Oh, he's like a weird old man that he wears fluorescent bicycling clothes and.
Like yoga pants,
he wears
right?
like yoga pants, and he.
But you know what? I have to say, Michael, and you have to admit, he wore that athleisure shit before anybody did.
He sure did. He wore that shit in the 90s.
Way before.
Yeah, he's OG.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
I mean, maybe, see, again, here's somebody I was trying to think of that was weird, and if you think about it, he's not only is he not weird, he's a trendsetter. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
he's a fucking Kardashian, the guy.
Yeah.
You know?
No, he is. I got a good photo of him somewhere. I'll send it to the group chat right now. Just Charlie, so you can have a visual reference of this motherfucker.
He's pretty weird. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to rack my brain. I mean, also just in production, there's so many weird fucking people we meet in production. And you're like, how does this person have a job or do what they do? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's so many people that we work with, like DPs and
animal trainers,
like people that have like responsible real jobs. You know what I mean? Not just like the weird grip. Do you know what I mean? But like a guy making $4,000 a day, and you're like, that guy's weird. You know?
Yeah. There's some interesting animal trainers.
Oh, the animal trainers. Yeah. They're very strange. That is a weird scene. And that is a racket. Can I tell you something you don't want to do? You don't want to try and like call a few of them because they all know each other.
Yeah.
You'll fuck yourself. You're like, I need a vulture, do you know?
Yeah.
And you call one guy and they're like, the vulture's $2,500. You're like, I'm going to call these other people. And it's the same there's one vulture. Do you know what I mean? And by the time you're done with these assholes, you're paying $4,000 for the vulture because you didn't just take the first guy that, they all know each other. So
yeah.
It's a weird fucking scene.
There's so many fucking weird people in fucking production land.
Fuck.
You know, it's weird. It's also weird because it's like once you get to a point where like you've been in AA so long and you've been in production so long that like everybody in the world just starts to look. You feel like you know everybody. You just like you're in line. You're like, do I know that person? Do I know that person? I should say that. I think I know that person. I think they were sober back like in what? No, maybe they were on that set. Everyone looks familiar.
Well, there's also no background check, so you don't know who the fuck you're working next to. You know what I mean? At any given point.
It is crazy, right? Like a fucker like me, like how I started producing makes no fucking sense. I didn't go to school. I didn't do anything. Like honestly, like the art guys kind of make sense, even though that's like a super racket. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I should have gone into art, but like when I started doing production, I PA'd and I did what everybody else did. I did a little bit of everything. And I just was like, I want to be where the people that are sitting, that are having people bring them coffee. Like that just seemed like, that seemed like the best job on set, you know? And I remember specifically asking a producer, I was like, do you have to have gone to college for that? They're like, no, you just kind of coordinate, then you PM, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll try that. But yeah, everything else just looked like a lot. Art department's awful. That's a lot of work.
Well, yeah, but they have 75 fucking dudes on every job.
They have 75 fucking dudes, and they've got great healthcare.
They've got five tons. Meanwhile, I got dudes like you telling me, we just don't have a wardrobe truck in the budget on this one. I'm like, there's 75 dudes in fucking football uniforms. You know what I mean? Like, wardrobe's always the bridesmaid to production.
Do you need that third assistant on the shoot?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can have because the PA can help. The PA can help.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, totally. Yeah, it is a weird fucking business.
How did you get? I mean, I'm sure you've taught, but it is interesting that you got into wardrobe.
I was like a mod and shit and a punker as a kid. You know what I mean? So I was always into clothing and shit anyway. Right. But kind of like you, I was like, I did a few jobs as a art department PA,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and then I also I had somebody who was willing to hire me as a wardrobe assistant.
Right.
So that helped, but I'd done a few art department things, but I'm like, fuck, this will break my back.
It just looks awful.
Years. You know what I mean?
No, it's awful.
I actually like it. I think the camaraderie of it's cool. I think we're very lucky for what we do for a living, but I love the camaraderie. I'm like you. I love hanging out with people. You know what I mean? And cutting it up and bullshit. And that's probably, I don't have any hobbies except for hanging out and talking shit.
No, I know. And the thing is, and I will say this, that I do production in particular is how I, is gets me out of the fucking house. Do you know what I mean? So it's and in the past few years, I work more and more from home. I usually don't go in the office until, maybe a couple days before pre-pro now. Do you know what I mean? Unless the director works out of the office, which is rare these days. It's not like directors are at the companies anymore. Do you know?
Yeah.
I don't go in. So not having that to break things up is because I'm one of those assholes that's been like, oh, it's not that different. Do you know, because I'll go 2-3 weeks without working. Do you know what I mean? It happens. Do you know what I mean? But once we got into the fourth week, I was like, oh wow, this is a little weird.
You and I did a job a few years ago. I don't want to say the guy's name, but there was an executive producer, and you were friends with him, I think. But he was a dude who was in and out of AA, and I'm like, what? And somebody told me that dude pulled his Range Rover into the parking lot on 3 wheels. He was so fucked up and smoked out.
Yeah.
One of the wheels, he had been driving on 3 wheels and pulled in the thing. And
yeah, that was actually thinking about that job because that was the job. That job broke me.
Oh, really?
That was a job that ended up getting me initially into meditation and eventually going into, I was actually beginning therapy, I think at that point, but that job, I was having massive panic attacks on that job. That job was a real nightmare. Well,
because the agency producer was so mean?
She was awful.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit. I didn't get along with the director. Do you know what I mean? And and the expectations around things were just fucked up. And I'm not one of those blame the world people. So I definitely had my own shortcomings, but it was a very tough job, and it was I remember I was having full on total panic attacks.
Oh, fuck. I did. Okay.
Yeah, no, you were great though. You were awesome.
Do you remember when I handed her ass in that building and the whole art department started laughing? Yeah.
That was amazing. Oh, but you know what? You know who? One, and I never worked with you two together, but one of your former assistants I hire all the time, who's Rainey.
Yeah, I love her.
Who's one of my favorite people in the world.
Oh, she's wonderful. She's one of the best people on the planet.
And an amazing stylist. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's super cool. But yeah, we've only done 1 or 2 other jobs. You together. We did that job. And then
we did 2 of those, right?
We did. Well, no, there was just it was 5 shoot days or something ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
But I remember you from DNA when you would be there all the time when I worked there, when you were a production manager.
Yep. That was a long time ago.
All right. Well, are we good, Charlie?
Did we make
yeah, that was great.
Did we make a podcast?
Yeah.
We made a fucking podcast.
Wow.
Thanks for,
We made a motherfucking
thanks for
podcast.
listening. We did make a motherfucking
What about next month after lockdown when all of us on this thing, Danny's an actor, Charlie and Mike are pitching the job, Michael Angelos is producing it, I'm doing the wardrobe on a "or your mattress is free" commercial.
I will fucking sell anything right now. I would do a Trump commercial.
Seriously.
I'm not fucking kidding you. If Trump was like, hey, everyone's like, I don't know about that. I'm like, maybe get out of the house, you know?
I can not only have I done 2 Hummer campaigns, I've done several Walmarts, but here's the best one. I did one for the Corn Refinery Association.
Wow.
Basically, high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, that's the devil.
So, yep.
It's
You basically did a
fine.
commercial for diabetes.
Yeah.
It's
That is so silly.
All right, cool. Well, thanks. I think
God
we're
bless
good.
people.
thanks, guys.
Bye,
It's great
guys.
meeting you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good
Okay.
meeting you.
All right,
All
so
right.
now we got to leave the window open, right?